Welcome to another episode, the second episode of our STELAR Projects podcast named Data Stories 360. I'm Julia Mitrovic, and we are here for the second part of our conversation with Professor Dragan Boskovic. As we have already introduced him in the first episode, he is the clinical professor at W.P. Carey Business School at the Arizona State University, but also the founder of the VizLore Labs Foundation. In this episode, we will tackle the evergreen question of data privacy and security, and also what is some good advice for those in the agricultural businesses or those who want to start an agricultural business, and how can they ensure data accuracy and data quality. Now, I have to ask something that is seen in every data-oriented interview, but for a reason, and that is the privacy concern of it all. So what measures should we take to address the privacy concerns in order to ensure that the data is protected when we implement data management systems in agriculture?
So we need to understand who are these stakeholders. So we have multiple stakeholders, as I mentioned, or at least I can see three classes or three groups of the stakeholders. Those are consumers, or actually there might be more than that. Then we have also producers, and we have different businesses that are involved in that food chain or supply chain. And then we have the regulators themselves, different agencies that are very concerned. Is it about the data, or is it about the food quality, or something else? So we need to understand who are the stakeholders and what are their primary concerns. Okay, so if you are a user, I think if I'm collecting data on you, okay, what food you are buying, and are you looking to buy the specific brand, or are you more interested in a specific agricultural practices or the domain where the food comes from, okay, then I think we have to make sure that we are really protecting you as a user and your privacy. And there are definitely methods and the regulations how you do that. You need to make sure that basically whatever data traces you leave in that space is not linked to some of the identities that will point to you as the source of that data. Okay, but if I am a farmer, producer, okay, then I definitely like some identity to be captured, because that is my brand, right? Especially if I think that I'm good in producing, let's say, wine or cheese or whatever, then I like you to be able to verify that that product came from my farm, that was manufactured, produced according to my practices, and so on and so forth. Okay, I like you to know that it met all the standards that are there imposed by regulators. So I think we need to understand where the information comes from, and what is the motivation of those stakeholders. Are they asking for the privacy? Are they asking more for the openness? And all that need to be really captured within the data engineering that is built for the specific application or the solution. Okay?
Well, now that you have mentioned agricultural businesses, I wanted to touch not only on how agricultural businesses see the privacy concerns and data protection, which you have just spoken on now, but also I want to ask you if you have some advice for agriculture businesses, for those who want to go into agriculture businesses, how can they ensure data quality and accuracy, especially when we are talking about large data sets, and is this connected to the question of privacy?
Yeah, that is cool. So you are basically saying what would be the guiding principles when designing a greenfield or new solution that is aiming at agricultural sector, but is a green field. We are able to start from the blank sheet of paper. Okay, so and again, I think we need to go back to all those things that we discussed, 3Vs, interoperability versus compatibility, and we need to also understand data privacy versus openness, and how that system should be designed in a way that different stakeholders feel good working and sharing data within that ecosystem. Okay, right? So if we are designing things from the scratch, I think we definitely need to identify what are the applications or what are the primary applications for which the data is going to be used. Okay, so that is number one. I need to identify, if I know applications, I would know what are the data types or what are the variables that I need to collect in order to make this application useful. It means I need to have all the inputs in order to get a good insights to give the right answers. If I know what are the variables that I need to get, I need to ask myself next question, where can I get it from? Okay, is it something that I need to get that from my farm? Is it something that I need to get from the machinery that I'm using? Or is it something that I need to get from the public sites that are already there, such as weather, or what is the level of the pesticides that are allowed in certain markets for certain products or whatever. So some data are already there and we just need to access. Okay, so once we have a good map where the data will be coming from, then we can go and start designing our solution. And then we need to also ask ourselves, is this going to be a static system or is it going to be dynamic? Am I going to introduce new applications? I'm just starting now with one, but I already have few others in mind. Nevertheless, for the reason of the practicality, I'm going to start with this one first, okay, and I'm going to scale up later. So all this we need to have well thought through before we go and start designing for scalability. Definitely, I would advise if you need to collect data or if you need data from your own fields, you would need to find the equipment or the sensors that is producing data in the standardized data formats, which will be useful for a wide range of applications that you have in mind. Okay, so you should not be going for equipment or for data formats that are just trying to lock you in. So if you build solution with their data formats, then you need to buy everything else from them in order to make that work. Okay, so you need to be somehow thinking of interoperability and standards at the level of designing your solution. Then you need to be thinking about compatibility at the level of your applications, because as we said, some of the data will be coming outside of your ecosystem. So you need to have a solution that will know how to access that data outside your ecosystem, and then have understanding how you are going to blend or integrate that with the rest of the data that you are collecting yourself. Okay, so that is another level. And then we come to the privacy versus openness. Okay, so it is now, and the speed and the management practices. So I need to understand requirement of my applications. Does that require a lot of data to be ingested very quickly into application? What is the response time that is needed? Is it that I need to react within, seconds or milliseconds if I have critical operations? Or is it that I can open my irrigation valves this evening or maybe tomorrow evening? It does not need to be in seconds. Okay, so it needs, you really need to have a good understanding of your application needs and how it has to manipulate the data in order to get the useful information. Okay.
Well, now if I can summarize this far for the viewers, so you have to have a plan, of course. So you need to know why are you doing this, where can you access the data, how can you access the data, where are you going in terms of scalability, as you have said. So are you going for something static or dynamic? And then tackle the issue of the application needs, as you have said. So to balance out privacy and openness, right?
Yeah. So
okay.
Yes. So that is the last thing that I wanted to say. You need to really then tackle the issue privacy versus openness, because part of the data need to be private, part of the data need to be open. Okay, so how your engineering, and I'm approaching this more from the engineering practices, because you are asking me that, but I'm trying to put that in business context too. So your database and data management need to reflect or this openness versus privacy, not only who can access the specific data, but also how the data is protected. Is it encrypted? Okay, and then how and who is going to control access to that data? Because you also need to have specific processes in place that will ensure that your data is secure, private, and some of the data open, and that you are reaching those stakeholders that will have interest in getting the information that they need.
Quite a job to tackle, to say the least. Thank you so much. Now we have approached our last question, and it's more of a question of related to looking into the future, so to say. But we did want to ask you, in your opinion, what are the most promising opportunities for innovation in data management within the scope of the agricultural industry? What are some of your viewpoints?
Yeah, I think this is very close to my heart because I have been doing research for a long time, and I'm trained to think ahead. So what might be the next good thing for us to do? So in my opinion, and we did speak about how I would have all, or how I would integrate all those interests and the requirements in a solution that is going to give each of the stakeholders what they like to see, okay? So I think with the advances of the technologies, it is also becoming easier for us to implement and have the solution that is able to balance all those requirements at the same time, because I mean, audience will understand having somebody asking for openness and somebody asking for the privacy from within same solution is not easy to implement, or it did not or it was not that easy to implement in the past, okay? But going forward, I think I, as consumer, I like to see basically that each of the products that I buy have a digital passport. Okay, so if I scan a QR code, it is going to give me all information, where it came from, what are the farming practices, who is the producer, and really everything that I, as consumer, will be interested to see. Okay, then if I'm a farmer, when I go and buy and think of buying new equipment, is it tractor or something else, I like to make sure that I need to collect certain data on my farming practices, because that is what the users are asking me. Then do I get a digital data formats that lend themselves nicely for building the applications and really collecting all the data that are needed, because the tractor is just one piece of equipment. You need to plug many different extensions into that, right? That will also need to collect the data. So I need to have something that I like to have digital model of that tractor from the data acquisition perspective. Okay, so I need to know how the data flows, what are the data formats, what are the additional data collection points can be plugged into that, and so on and so forth. So let's call that digital data acquisition model. I need to have that. Or if there's something that is on actuation, water pump or something, I need to have the same thing. I need to know how I control that, what data I need to send, in what format, and things of that nature. So now we come to basically having these data models of the equipment, and having basically a need to collect data real time from the field at certain frequencies in order to build the digital passport of the products, okay? So those three things are what we call digital twin, okay? Digital twin is a model of the process that is updated real time with the data coming from machinery or field, okay? And giving you the information on the specific product or the process that is coming out of that solution. So in my mind, and then how would you protect the data within that flow? I'm very close to utilizing, blockchain, having different ledgers, having different encryption methods. How would you share the data between the stakeholders that might not have interest in sharing the very sensitive data between themselves, but they still have interest in sharing some results out of the applications, because if you share those data out of the applications, you can further improve the application that is going to benefit everyone within that ecosystem. So for me, going forward, I think we need to think in terms of the products having digital passports. We need to think that each piece of equipment that we are deploying is capable of real-time data collection. We need to have digital models of that equipment from the data collection or data actuation perspective. And we need to plug that into some secure data structures that are able to basically do many things at the same time, such as openness, privacy protection, business sensitivity protection, and give the user this digital passport so that he can have full confidence in what he or she is buying in a superstore, okay?
Understood, and thank you so much, Professor. This was very insightful. With this, we conclude with this insight into the future. I won't say just some ideas, but let's say insight into the future. We conclude our STELAR interview. And thank you so much for being with us today, and also opening our podcast series for the STELAR project.
Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to share my views with your audience, and looking forward to some other interactions with Food Hub going forward, okay?
We are very, very open to it and very happy to welcome you back for more. This wraps up our second episode and our conversation with Professor Dragan Boskovic, but more STELAR episodes are coming soon, so please make sure to follow our website, stellar-project.eu, and see you soon.